Hello, I hope you are having just an absolutely magnificent AD day. Today we're going to be taking a look as part of my Serial Saturday, where I take a Saturday out and talking about the serials that are oftentimes forgotten. I'll talk about a TV one from a movie one instead. For example, I've done movie ones on like Buck Rogers and Captain Marvel, the Flash Gordon trilogy. Last week was the Phantom Empire, that sort of thing. I thought it would be fun for me to knock out a TV serial from the UK too. Now, I'm not from the UK and so forth. They have a lot of their people talk about Star Trek, which is a US thing, and I think it's fun to have sort of a perspective from outside of your audience or your genre, right, to talk about that. I think that's what's up. And I loved Doctor Who growing up. For example, the oldest serial that I remember watching was Robots of Death from the Fourth Doctor with Lila on the sand crawlers and such. Loved it so much. Thought it was so creepy, so scary. Loved it so much. Definitely stood with me. We remember I grew up in Southern West Virginia, so on our PBS show, there would be the new Doctor Who that would be showing up on the evening at 6 p.m. right after He-Man and the news and stuff like that was shown. So rather than me getting home and watching those or G.I. Joe, I was going home and watching the new Doctor Who stuff that was getting shown and stuff like that. And then I saw it all from the Fourth Doctor, Fifth Doctor as contemporaneously as it was being shown. Again, I was born in 1976. And then the Sixth Doctor too, at the same time as it was being shown in the UK. Loved it lots, and so forth too. And then they weren't showing the Seventh Doctor. I never saw any of the Seventh Doctors. They just started again with the First Doctor serial, the Unearthly Child, which is what I'm going to be doing today for you folks. And so I watched it then. It was my first black and white and William Hartnell. A short story, not short story, but serial for you folks. Loved it lots. Loved this black and white stuff. I thought there's a classic and iconic look to it. Although Peter Davison, who I saw all of his episodes on TV, but just the last couple of seasons, and Tom Baker was my favorite Doctor still at the time. Although William Hartnell is today. So I think there's some fun in having some of these, having somebody who's just absolutely loved this. And as a reminder, if you remember my top 5 sci-fi shows from the century. Number 1 is Babylon 5. I talked about that. My number 2 one is Doctor Who. My number 3 is Star Trek, which my dad wouldn't like. It being back there at number 3, but it is. That's fine. I grew up watching TNG and Star Trek too, but this was my favorite stuff. I preferred this to it. So there you are. So with that context, let's start with my review. Now I'm doing this review on my phone. It's a 22 font, and my eyesight's not that great, so it's on a few pages. So if you see me look down at my phone instead of giving you the eye contact that you deserve, that's why. For you folks, right? So let's start. Let's say 4-parter of 25 minutes each for you folks. It was broadcast in 1963. You can stream it online in the U.S. and on BritBox or Amazon. I just watched it again last night for the fourth time. I also bought all these on DVD and watched them a couple of times. Watched them once then, and then watched it another time when I went back and watched all the old series a couple of years ago, back during the streaming era when everybody's trying to find some stuff. So this is now the 4th time I've seen it. I saw it once live on, well, not live as it was being shown, but once on the PBS. And then once on DVD, and then again streaming, and now again streaming for you folks. I'll link it to you in the comments below in case you're interested in buying it. You can also buy it with next to the Daleks and the as well as the 2-parter too. So you can called The Beginning, which is what I actually own, which is probably the most budget efficient for DVD connoisseurs. So I'll link it to you too. I'll link it to that in the comments below in case you're interested in checking it out for you folks. I read it I watched this very, very fast a couple of days ago. I loved it lots. So this was produced by Verity Lambert at the time. She was the first female producer in the BBC drama department for you folks. So that was good stuff. Also, the director for this, Wayne Hussein, who was also from South Asia at the time. He was the youngest director that had been hired at that time. So you can obviously see why having a female voice and a South Asian voice and a younger guy too would be interesting, I think, in helping to set the scene, if you will, for that era for you folks. Now, the first Doctor is William Hartnell, my favorite Doctor. Have her hand going back and watching all of those and sorts of things. Love him lots. He makes this his own very, very fast. Love him lots. For you folks, this is a brand new style of characterizations. He was character typed as the hard military man, or the drill sergeant, if you will. But he actually takes this against his type and definitely puts him on the map in a major way. He became a beloved figure because of this with kids and so forth. The first companion is his granddaughter, Barbara. That's played by Susan Carol Ann Ford, who was in her early 20s at the time when she's cast. And she was and they also had a similar relationship according to all the records and so forth. Then the father. The granddaughter, rather, and the grandfather with the first Doctor for you folks. Now, the other two leads are teachers for you folks. They're contemporaries, not the people that are talked about with the titular serial for you folks. The first of those is history teacher Barbara Wright, and her role as the history teacher is to give you the historical context of the historicals. So the idea here is that she'll tell you and fill you in as the audience in these roles. So, for example, in the Aztecs, a few serials later, absolute classic. You'll right if you didn't know that they didn't invent the wheel. You will once she tells you that. Right. So that's her role. Her role is the historicals of serial killer, and every other roughly one for a while is going to be historical, and this one is too for you folks. And then the science teacher is Ian Chesterton for you folks. It's played by William Russell, and his role here will be to talk about the science stuff or to do the action roles when nobody else is doing it. Because William Hartnell, as the first Doctor, is past the action role part, so he'll actually do that, and he'll actually do that here once. The Doctor will tell him to. Now, as a reminder, please keep this spoiler free, even though it's more than 50 years ago from the 60s. Please keep this spoiler free. My review is spoiler free too. So I won't be talking to you about this in detail. So the first episode is very, very different than people probably would have expected from the day, since it was the genius nature of the Susan by the teachers, and then a follow-up. So who is this unusual child, right? I like that. This is setting that up for a whole episode, if you will. Then the rest of the story is to have time travel, historical, in the past 3 episodes instead of the past 4 episodes. So because of things that happened in the first episode, no spoilers, the Barbara and Ian do not trust the Doctor at all. That will come up in the next couple of episodes in the historical parts. In the 3-parter that follows the first part. And so, for example, Ian and the Doctor will argue and debate over who is actually going to be the leader making decisions on the field, right? And they'll have a lot of discussions and such, interactions and manipulations between the two. Love it lots. I love that there's some drama in this. With Barbara, Ian, and the Doctor and Susan on the other sides. It's faster than a normal 4-part in this era was with the Doctor Who, because the first one is definitely separate. So it's and then the 3-parter that follows up with it is definitely different. Love it lots. So it's in these 3-parters. I also love the political thriller aspects with a political drama rather than just caveman fights. You might think caveman serial set during the caveman era would just have a bunch of fights, and there are fights here and there. But it's really more about the political drama of these people arriving at the time. I like it lots. I like that it was subverting expectations, both with the political drama rather than just a bunch of fights, or the fact that the first episode was about the setting up the show, who this character is, and doing a deeper dive into her, rather than actually, doing a deeper dive into that. So I like that this was subverting expectations right from the beginning. I like that lots for you folks. However, the actors and the characters are just still figuring out their parts, as you would expect in a thing like this, and their acting can be a little wooden at times, and the characters won't always come together and so forth. So, and the fans have given this on IMDb an 8.1 rating. I think this is probably more of a 7 out of 10 for you folks for those reasons. Although I think the first part is a classic 10 out of 10, and then the last one I would give a 6 out of 10 to the last 3 parts for you folks, if you wanted to break it down like that, and so forth. So there you are. So get ready, though, for the next 7-part, The Dalek, because everything's going to come together acting-wise, and it's going to put this show on the map in a major way. Although my favorite ones is the Age of Destruction from the two-part that'll finish this up. So there's a lot of heavily influential stuff. We're still talking about this today, right? It's heavily influential and stuff and such. So I think it's great stuff that we're still, talking about Doctor Who on the map is heavily influential. In the next serial, again, what came out of nowhere, people were like, "Whoa!" It just defined it. The average viewers for this one were about 6 million for the first 4 episodes and so forth. So the first one happened the day after the JFK assassination, and so it had smaller viewerships as a result. And so they were able to convince the powers that be that show it ahead of the next one and so forth. And they actually did it right before the second show, and so that was really great stuff for them. Got them on the map in a major way. So great stuff. So there is a rights issue with the first one, with the first episode in this serial for you folks, and it's not shown in the Doctor Who universe in the UK. So there you probably just have to buy it on DVD, which I'll be linking to. But I'll link to in the US because the US it is available on streaming and so forth. I just watched it again to verify that. I watched it on Amazon with a BritBox subscription, with a free trial for 7 days. So I just watched it again for you folks. So I know that it is available for streaming in the US. I don't know what other places it is, but I can't. But it isn't on Universe in the UK that has linked all the classics and old stuff together. So there you are. But that's not available to me. So I can't speak to what is available rest of the world in BritBox and stuff like that for you folks. So there you are. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. So if you like this video, why not hit the like button, the bell icon, the subscribe button if you're feeling frisky, and then also let your friends know Doctor Who fans, serial fans, and that sort of thing. It's great stuff there. So what'd you think? Did you agree or disagree with my 7 out of 10 for this and my rankings and so forth? Let me know in the comments below. If you also want to talk about some of the stuff, and again, no spoilers, but if you want to talk about those in the comments below, please do so. I'm happy to engage with us further in the comments below. As a reminder, this channel is named "The Worst Thing About New Books." That's a quote by a French philosopher, Jacques Joubert, who said that the worst thing about them was that they kept us from reading the old ones, right? A serial from 1963, heavily influential today, but a lot of people probably just aren't going back in to watch it because, it's black and white. It's written and it's created for that generation, not modern generations. I think is definitely a key part of this, finding these older classics, even outside of books, for you folks. So there you are. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. That's the name too. And then finally, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing it in watching my video, right? Because we all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spend this time with me, that's incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it so much. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.